Hey everyone, Megan here with Blitzy. Now, if you've ever traveled, you know how awful baggage claim can be. Everyone seems to have the same black bag, making it super difficult for you to identify your bag. So today I am going to show you how to make your very own customizable leather stitched luggage tag so you will never have a problem finding your bag again. All right, to get started, you're gonna grab your leather piece, your tag, your pencil, and your scissors. And we are going to actually create the shape of our tag. So you're gonna take your paper tag here and you're gonna place it on your leather and you're gonna just trace around it. We're actually going to create two of these because we're going to sew our two leather pieces together. And then I'm just gonna make a little pencil mark here, just a little dot in the center, just so I know where that center is of my tag when I go to actually cut that out. So once again, make one more trace here of your leather tag. All right, now that we have our tags traced, it's time to cut them out. And my tag here is a little on the long side, so I may actually cut a little bit of the bottom off just so it's a little bit shorter, because most luggage tags are not this long. I just wanted to use that paper tag just as a guide to get the general shape of my tag. So we'll just maybe take, I don't know, like an inch off the bottom there. I'm just gonna cut that. And then keep cutting until both of your tags are totally cut out. And then I'm just gonna cut out the actual size here of my second tag, and then I'll just lay my first one on top of this one just so I get them so they're the same length. But until then, I'm just gonna cut the whole thing out. All right, so I'm just gonna lay that first tag right on top of the second one, and then take my pencil here and just kind of trace that line so I know how long it needs to be. And then just cut that piece right off. All right, so now we are going to add our word or our phrase to our tag, or you could add your name, you could add your initials. I'm actually gonna be a little playful with mine, and I'm actually gonna write mine. So I'm gonna do mine in cursive. Once again, you could do cursive, you could do block letters, whatever you want. I'm just gonna write in cursive with my pencil, and I'm gonna write mine. And that's the fun part about this, is that it's totally customizable, so you can write or put on there whatever you want. So once you write it on, we're then gonna take our pencil again and we're gonna create dots. And this is just gonna help us when it comes time to punch the holes out when we go to stitch our tag, so we know where we're stitching, and it makes it easier than having to actually push your needle up through the leather. The holes will be perfect and you can just slide that needle right on through. So I'm actually gonna start on the corner here of my M, just adding a dot, and their spacing isn't gonna be perfect, but I'm gonna do, I don't know, less than probably 1/8 of an inch, just kind of spacing out my dots so they're not too close to one another. So you want to make sure that you'll be able to create a stitch and you can actually see that stitch. I'm just gonna follow the line of my letter, creating my dots. So now you are going to grab your leather rotary cutter here, And once again, you're gonna have your leather tag. And to move this, you are going to actually, we want it to be on the smallest hole. You're just gonna use your fingers, and you see that there's an actual arrow there. And you're just gonna take your hand and just move it with your hand to that smallest hole, because we don't want the hole too big. We want it to be nice and small. So once we have the right size for our hole here, we're going to grab our tag and we're gonna place this on top of all of those dots that we created, and we're gonna press down. So this, you need to use a little bit of elbow grease just to kind of push. And when you hear that click noise, that's when you know you've actually punched a hole. And you'll see there will be a little piece of leather here. Those pull right out. You can see a nice hole. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna go over all of our holes, punching them out. So you may wanna take a break in between, depending on how long your word or phrase is, because your hand might get a little tired. But either way, you're gonna keep going until all of the holes have been punched out. So we're gonna grab the embroidery floss, the color that you want your word to be, and we're gonna grab the needle. And this is where we're gonna start stitching our tag. So we're gonna thread our needle here. I'm just gonna lick that so I can easily get it inside. Okay, so I'm starting it from here. All right, so now that it's threaded, I'm gonna cut a generous amount of thread, because the worst thing when you're working with embroidery floss is to cut it too short and you run out. So to avoid that, I'm gonna make mine pretty long. So once we have this cut here, I'm just gonna go to the end. I'm going to tie a knot. My holes, once again, they're not huge, but I'm gonna tie a couple of knots here just to make sure it's large enough so it doesn't get pulled through. All right, time to start stitching. I'm actually gonna start with my top corner of my M here, and I'm gonna go up through that first hole. I'm gonna pull all of my string through, and then I'm gonna go down to the second hole. And I'm gonna kind of follow the shape of my M as far as how I would write it. So I'm gonna go down here to this next hole here, and we're gonna go up this hole, and then we're gonna go down the hole we just came from. So this is actually a back stitch. So you're gonna go up and then back down through that second hole. And this is the stitch that we're gonna do throughout this entire tag. So you're just gonna be going to the next hole in line, and then you're gonna be going back down through the prior hole. So you're gonna use this stitch throughout your entire tag. So now that I'm at the bottom here, I'm actually gonna take my needle and go back up to the top. So I wanna make sure that I'm connecting my letter. So I'm gonna go to the top here, that top hole, and then I'm gonna go back down. So you can see I've now connected that bottom stitch there, and now I'm going back to the top. So then you're just gonna continue on with that back stitch. I am just finishing my last stitch here, and I'm ending so my needle is in the back of my tag, and then I'm just going to tie a knot. And this knot doesn't have to be too tight, because we're actually going to glue this tag to our other, or I'm sorry, this piece of leather to our other piece of leather. You want to make sure it's tight enough so your stitches don't become loose, but we're going to glue it together, or glue this to the other one, so it's not going to come out. So I'm just going to do one more knot there just to secure it, and then we are going to trim that excess floss, and we now have our stitched word. So the next thing we're going to do is glue this to our other leather piece. To make our tag a little more sturdy, we're actually gonna glue the two leather pieces together. So I'm just gonna flip my top tag over here. I'm just gonna add my craft glue. And this will just help glue the two together. I'm gonna get as close as I can to the edge, just so it seals nicely. And once you have it totally covered in glue, you're going to flip it over and you're going to glue it on top of the other piece of leather. You might need to move it around a little so it's centered, and then just press down with your fingers, making sure that glue really sticks. It's now time to add a border around our tag. And if you want, you are certainly welcome to use your pencil again and create dots around the border of your tag. I'm just gonna eyeball this. You're gonna grab your rotary punch again, and we're gonna keep it on that smallest hole punch there. And I'm just gonna start here on the corner, and I'm gonna go in, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch. And I'm just going to push down. And this is gonna be a little tougher because you have two layers now of that leather to go through. So you may wanna use both hands, and then you hear that actual snap noise. That's when you know you've gone through both layers. And then I'm just gonna continue going around, spacing my, my holes evenly. All right, just finishing up adding my holes here. And once we're finished, we are going to grab that second color of embroidery floss. I picked this really pretty peach color, and this is what I'm going to use to stitch the border of my tag. Once again, I threaded my needle and I tied a decent sized knot at the end. I'm just gonna start here in the corner, and we're gonna do that back stitch again. So we're gonna pull our thread through. We're gonna go down that second hole. Then we are gonna go back up through, if I can get it, that third hole, and then go right back to the second hole, doing that back stitch again. So you're gonna continue doing this until you've added your thread to your entire border. So as you can see, I'm getting towards the end of my tag here, and I'm actually gonna use my fingers to rip the tag apart there, just so the corner is not glued anymore, because this is how we are going to tie our knot and secure it inside of our tag so you don't see it. So now that that's kind of ripped open, I'm gonna go ahead and finish stitching. So I'm gonna go up through that second to last hole there. I'm gonna go up through that second hole there and then back down. And then my final hole, I'm gonna go up, and then instead of going all the way through, I'm gonna go down through that hole, and I'm actually gonna have it peek out here on the inside. And then this is where we're gonna tie our string. So I'm gonna tie a knot here. You might have to start your knot a little further out and then just kind of push it in with your finger. So I'm gonna tie, you can see that, I'm gonna have my knot be kind of inside of that tag there. I'm gonna hold my finger as I pull that string to create my knot. You can see I've created a little knot there. I'm just going to trim. Actually, let's do one more knot just to make it a little tighter. And do one more knot there. Hopefully you can see this. I'm gonna push it as close as I can to inside there. I'm gonna hold it with my finger and pull it with my other hand to create that knot. And we're just going to trim that down. So I'm gonna grab my glue here, and I'm just gonna place glue on that corner there where we ripped it up. And then we're just gonna place it back down. Just use your finger and you can wipe any excess glue off. We're just gonna keep pushing until the glue is dry. Now it's time to finish our tag. So we're gonna grab our rotating leather punch again, and this time we're actually going to move it one punch over so we have the largest punch in its proper position. And then I can't really see where my hole is. I can kind of see it, but you're gonna aim for that hole that you created when you traced your tag. And you're just gonna go over it with that larger hole punch and press down. And then we're gonna take our leather lace here and we're gonna cut it. So you're gonna double it up because you wanna make sure you have enough leather to string to your tag and then attach to your luggage. So I think that looks about right. I'm just gonna cut that. And then you're gonna keep it folded in half and you're gonna kind of pinch the end just to make it a little bit smaller. And we're gonna go from the back of our tag through to the front. And then we're gonna open that loop with our finger and we're gonna take the other pieces of the leather here and we're gonna run it through that loop. And then we're gonna pull nice and tight on that, creating our connector for our tag. So you can see with a piece of leather and some embroidery floss, you can create your very own customized leather stitch tag, and your bag will be the best bag at baggage claim.